Hi, thanks, Stephen. Um, I just want to say that I really appreciate all of the panelists coming, and it's been really enlightening for me and informative. And so I hope for everyone else as well. Uh, Different panelists have brought up how complex this topic is and how it's so encompassing, and it gets to like all parts of our youth's life. So here at Crisis Connections, our training department is relatively young. We've been around about 3 years, although we have had different programs like our suicide prevention for students, where we go into the classrooms. We have a contract with different cities in King County. So we have been providing that for about 10 years. And we do have a curriculum that we sell that we purchased from an agency in the past. And Joanna mentioned that curriculum. And so we try to always respond to the needs of mostly Washingtonians, but youth. And so we are trying, Stephen and I, to, like he says, to connect different parts of the state and try to be a facilitator of this type of discussion so that we can all see what everyone else is doing and connect with one another. So in that regard, in our department, we are trying to add different elements to kind of help respond to this. So we, of course, had to go onto virtual classroom presentations, which was really challenging, and everyone was very concerned about what does that mean to bring up suicide prevention virtually, like how will teachers and offer that support, you know? So again, like working with Alana, who spoke first, we've just kind of been progressively trying to develop it and make it more robust and more supportive. And in fact, in that regard, myself and the youth trainer, we are going to add more and more topics upstream, you know, to our curriculum. So we have a live presentation that we do, and we've started to onboard a video option on a learning platform for teachers to facilitate that. And then we're going to keep adding to that curriculum so that there will be more social emotional learning units and upstream, because we kind of were like, wow, why are we only waiting until there's such a crisis that somebody feels like they want to, you know, take their life by suicide? So we want to also, like Julie and Joanna and everyone's talking, like intervene a little earlier and try to capture more of that. So hopefully that will be just coming on board as it goes. And we're also trying to, we're in the process of creating online learning modules for parents, because we started to recognize that. So we have Networks for Life, which is a program that we have trainers that are in different school districts that provide that training to school counselors and to teachers, which is like a suicide prevention training that talks about, you know, the OSPI standards and ethics and all that things the things that schools need, but that we were not necessarily reaching a lot of parents. And parents are so integral into, you know, supporting their youth, right? And they're very motivated to do it because, of course, these beautiful creatures that they have created, you know, they want to support them and keep them around and keep them happy. So we do do a Networks for Life that we also have for kind of a general population. So a lot of times that does end up capturing parents, but through the Washington State Hospital Association grant, we received some monies to create a parenting program as well that we're kind of looking to, we're developing it with teens themselves. So they're giving us feedback. They're going to be providing some of the content that is in this parent and like non-clinical staff. So maybe like people at nonprofits or teen shelters could also look at it, you know, people that, professionals that play a guardian type role, but maybe they're not clinically trained. So we're kind of trying to capture it from a lot of different angles and be responsive to the needs of teachers, of school administrators, of the parents, because for us, of course, the target audience is the students. So whatever the students need or the youth need. I love how Julie was talking about uh, how they're talking to students and they have focus groups and things like that, because again, they're trying to hear from the youth themselves. Like, so what would you really do? You know, what really would be supportive to you? So we are actively working on that. So that will be coming online this year. We have so many projects going on that, yes, it's hard to bring them up like quickly, but as that stuff gets made available, if you're on our mailing list, you'll hear about updates from the training department. You can always check our website. We really want to be invited. Alana was talking about how we are partnering with Federal Way School District. There's other school districts we're in the process of partnering with, like the Renton School District and other areas. So we are looking to, again, try to provide as much support as possible. Of course, I cannot not mention that we have Teen Link, which is a warm peer support line for youth to call and, you know, have questions. It doesn't have to be about suicide. It could be any kinds of questions like stress or anxiety or things like that. And we also produce the Where to Turn for Teens, which I hope that everyone has copies available to give to youth that they work with. And if they don't, please reach out to Teen Link or to us, and we will get you copies of this booklet, either through a PDF or actual physical copies. We're happy to deliver them or mail them places, because again, you know, youth can kind of take initiative, or probably even more likely, like Julia was talking about, is when peers can support their peers, right? Because there is that stigma. So if there's a concern about being made fun of or shamed, what we do try to do with training our peer volunteers at Teen Link is to kind of break through that stigma so that they can become supports to other people. So I can remember even when I was in high school, I was the kind of teenager that other teens would come and talk to, and that then I was often facilitating them connecting with somebody else, you know? So those are also really important peers. And I love that the SOS group and Teen Mental Health First Aid are trying to, again, address that. I recently talked to one of the researchers that started working with SOS in the beginning, and now she's working on another kind of upstream project called Gizmo, and she's in Connecticut. So I was connecting with her around, you know, our curriculum and the things that we do in the schools. We were talking about that. And then it also turned out that we started discussing how in Washington, we're very lucky to have a lot of resources actually, because in Connecticut, for example, they don't have mandatory suicide prevention and assessment and intervention training for clinicians or necessarily for teachers or things like that, that we have had success in passing bills in Washington to kind of capture those professionals. I know that I can say that when I was being trained as a clinician, that we didn't, you know, discuss suicide prevention. We didn't discuss in a clinical sense how to help someone who has made attempts, or what to do, you know, with families in the grieving process. And because there's so much to learn, you know, in postgraduate school, that you can't necessarily cover everything, but that through continued education with professionals, school psychologists, other clinicians, that we can, again, sort of prepare ourselves and prevent suicide, and then also work in the recovery process. So I'm very happy that we're all gathered here today and getting a chance to talk a little bit. I don't need to go on and on and on, but I do want to welcome people to reach out to us with either resources available or a need, like a resource need. I will, Stephen and I will serve to try to connect people who are participants with panelists and panelists with participants in a way that is helpful to everyone. And again, we will try to be responsive, and as I mentioned, potentially have a continued discussion around these kinds of topics if there's a need or a desire. because at Crisis Connections, we just really, our main goal is to try to provide as much support and connection around the state to prevent suicide, to prevent crisis, and to help destigmatize mental health issues, behavioral health issues. So thanks so much for participating today, to the panelists and to all the participants. Stephen, I'll hand it back to you. And I am available. I put my email in there. I can put it again. So thanks so much.